Talk about having trust issues after this situation. All right, guys. So some of you might have heard the story I had on the last week's Wednesday midweek report, where I talked about a married couple who, it's a strange, it's not even a strange story. It's an evil story because of what went on. But some of you heard it. This is a more shorter version. So basically, a husband let strange men sleep with his wife. But that wasn't the kicker. The kicker was the wife was unconscious during these events or assaults, if you will. And what the husband was doing was after each night after dinner, or rather in her dinner, he was drugging her. So he was putting whatever he was putting in it, and she was going to sleep soon after dinner. And the last thing she would remember was watching TV and eating ice cream or whatever it was. So it was a subtle effect, but whatever he put in there knocked her out to these men assaulting her at night. And she had no clue for 20 years. So they were married about 50 years up until recently. She found this out, I think, in 2021, or 2020, rather, excuse me. The reason why they found this out, now the husband would have still been getting away with this had he not got caught putting his phone under women's skirt in a mall and the security guard catching him, arresting him, the cops looking through his phone, and then the cops looking through his phone and finding, if I'm not mistaken, thousands of videos of men violating his wife at night. So, of course, this gets bumped. The skirt under the camera under the skirt goes in the garbage, and then they have something more egregious to focus on. So now, all of the guys who were involved were charged as well. So, of course, the husband was charged. Now, 72 men were recorded on these videos out of 96 sexual assaults or rapes, if you will. So not all 72 men were identified, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of them were identified, and a lot of them were charged, and a lot of them were given anywhere between 2 years to about 20-something years in jail. Some of them were kicked loose because I don't know what kind of deal they made, but some of them were kicked loose. But nonetheless, guys, the whole point of this story is the trust factor. Imagine being married to somebody for 50 years, and in year 30 of your marriage, the husband decides, oh, I'm going to have dudes violate my wife and record it. Now, the guys coming over, that was another issue. You're coming over. Now, there is a world where that happens, right? But if somebody is knocked out, that's a red flag. That's like a no, thank you, And you get in there, and he goes, oh, don't worry, she's sleeping. She likes it when she's sleeping. That's fucking, listen, there's a lot of weird shit in the sex world. That's weird, and I wouldn't have trusted. Now, I think a couple of guys got away with using that excuse, but still a red flag. I don't trust. People have trust issues in relationships as it is. This lady, who is now 72 years old, has the ultimate trust issues with her husband, because how do you look at any other man in the same way? And how do you go to sleep next to a man in the same way? Now, she's 72. Her dating days are done. I don't think she's going to get remarried. I could all but, bet my paycheck on it. But it doesn't change the fact that the trust is gone. And keep in mind, they had a kid together, one son or two. They had a son and a daughter. So the son and the daughter are absolutely destroyed over this, because now they can't look at their father the same way. Again, trust out of the window. This story bothers me because I can't understand that kind of thinking. You're married, all right, so you're married for 30 years. That's more years than people are married. And then in year 30, you're like, I'm gonna have my wife sexually assaulted. I'm gonna record these things and then probably put them on the dark web, which I don't know if he did or not. But still, so 20 years of this, now you're 50 years in your marriage, 20 years of these violations going on, and you thought this was okay the entire time. So either you really hated your wife, or this is something you really wanted to do with your wife, but you should have talked to her to see if she was willing to do it. Which, again, I don't know if they had that conversation. It's irrelevant. The worst part about it, guys, is that this violation was done over 20 years, and this lady had no She had zero hints that this was going on. I guess guys were wearing condoms, so there was no, you know, stuff. But that's the wildest shit I've ever heard. I mean, like, I've heard some really, I've actually seen some dirty shit and some violent shit, but that was bad. I'm just thinking to myself, like, how do you live with yourself as a guy to this? And there's no apologizing. You can't turn around to your wife and go, I didn't mean to. 20 years, I didn't mean to. You're like a sack of shit after fucking doing it once. Never mind 20 years of it. Anyway, just wanted to get that story out there because it's one of the most disturbing stories I've read in a long time. And I read a lot of disturbing stories when it comes to like different shit. But as far as the trust factor and marriage goes, this is by far one of the disturbing things I've read in a long time. Anyway, guys, with that, this is The Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching the Angry Truth channel.